So, hi everybody, welcome to this week's episode, which is episode 8 of Broken Roads. I'm your host, Colin Mackell, and this week we've got a little bit of a different podcast, or at least, interview. I'm meeting on someone else's podcast, and they've kindly agreed to allow us to share um, the podcast with our guests here. And I'm delighted to introduce Beth Carrell, who is from the Catholic Psych Institute. And Beth is coming on to the Broken Roads podcasts in a few episodes' time. And I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm sure that you guys will find Beth amazing as I do. And I really want to thank her for her time. And I will also leave some links in the description where people can find Beth's actual podcast and again the Catholic Psych Institute. And Beth is a IDDM mentor. You can find out more about what that means in the next podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Catholic Mentor community. Today we have Mr. Colin Mackell, and I am just so honored and privileged to be here with Colin. I'll introduce him, but first I want to say thank you, Colin. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me today.
Thank you, Beth. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I know everybody's used to seeing Jack here, but I have recently partnered with the Catholic Mentor, and we're working on a project of love, meeting people where they are at, and helping to see that to share our most vulnerable places in our lives, our broken stories, can bring so much hope to this world that is in so much need of that. So many defenses up in this world, and especially in the States here. Colin, you are in Italy today. Can you tell us a little bit about your work in Italy?
Yeah. So I live in the UK and I live in Italy, and I work remotely for my work in the UK whilst I'm in Italy. But I also have a small consultancy here, which is providing services to people that delivers a kind of a bespoke intervention. And it's usually it's a private service, and it's to usually those who are who are high wealth individuals, or those who need the guarantee of complete confidentiality because they may be coming from families, or they may themselves be in positions that wouldn't be judged by the world favorably if they were to open up about their vulnerability. So we offer bespoke interventions, and it's led by Reno Perino, who's my long-term partner. He's like a brother to me, and we have known each other for over 30 years. So it's something that we're looking to expand. We're having lots of conversations about the way this is kind of going to change. It's not necessarily other than the charitable aspect of what we do, reaching out into people's lives and offering them an option for healing and help, and amidst their distress. That's the orientation from a Christian perspective, but it isn't distinctly Catholic in any way, sense, or form beyond that. But we are looking to develop. I'm in conversations with a number of other people.
Well, I mean, you are clearly, that's so beautiful, because you're clearly doing the work of JP2. You know, you're trying to meet the needs of everyone, from the people that are absolutely in the streets needing recovery and help, all the way up to the elite that need protection over their confidentiality. I mean, that's just such a wide span, but we all need help. So,
we're all human.
Just yes, we are all human. Yes. I want to just give our audience the context for how we know each other. Colin and I were both, we were students together at the Catholic Psych Institute, and we immediately connected on a deep level. I have not been able to see Colin in a year in person, which is very difficult for my heart, but I'm so grateful that we have this time together here now. Colin has, I mean, his credentials are, your credentials are too many to list. So yeah, but you're a psychotherapist. you draw your training also through the Catholic lens of JP2, right? Which is kind of a big mission similarity with CatholicPsych and with Chrysalis, which you are the founder and CEO of.
That's
Chrysalis Group.
correct.
Tell
Yeah,
us a little more about that.
correct. Yeah, so Chrysalis Group is basically the culmination. So we went into a group structure, and again, I'm not kind of going to get into the semantics of kind of financial structures.
Sure.
Nonetheless, it's a blend of non-profit and for-profit entities, and it has been pulled together in that way so that we can attract investment and ring fence risk away from the, let's say, the more vulnerable parts, or the parts that need a stronger identity in terms of drawing in others to kind of trust that they will, see out their mission, their non-profit mission. We have built together a governance framework which is strategically led by the group, and all of those individual entities, all of those individual companies or organizations within the group they all have independent board members or independent trustees. And so everything is kind of ring fenced and put together in a way that kind of blends those opportunities and increases and enhances its message and its offering. It started a long time ago with 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 just basically me and my own recovery.
Yes.
When I after many failed attempts at trying to kind of beat my own addiction and my own brokenness, my own kind of um, uh, my own brokenness.
Well,
I remember.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring up, that I just finished reading your memoir, Broken Roads Lead Me Here. This is not just for adults who live each day in darkness. I believe that this is a book that everyone should read if, that's over the age of, well, that's old enough to be able to handle the material inside. But at some point it should be read by every human. That is my belief. It was incredibly moving, and it just, I've never heard a story where the abuse and the horrors that you lived were just so relentless, and the resurrection and the redemption on the flip side now in your life is so incredible. Can you tell me a little bit more about like how you realized you needed to bring your story to the world? Must have been hard.
Yeah. I didn't want to bring my story to the world. I had to revisit a lot of places that I had visited at different times.
Yeah.
And in the process of trying to find peace and
Yeah.
to try to find, I guess, what we term healing,
Yeah.
I went through a number of different options. I was in the 12-step program. I was
Right.
in treatment centers. I saw various psychotherapists. I underwent various trainings, and at certain points in my life, without realizing it, I was kind of really looking for answers for myself. So I kind of, was looking for different things. But I had kind of moved on a lot in my life, and I guess I had taken a lot of my experiences for granted. I kind of thought, well, it's no big deal. It's a bit arrogant of me to presume that I've got something that would be significant in any way, shape, or form. But my wife basically wouldn't let the issue lie,
Well, she knew
and
the gift that you
she,
are. Yeah.
yeah, and so I then undertook the process, which took quite a few years because I kept having to put it down
Mm-hmm.
because I was kind of going there again. And one
Yeah.
of the things that I realized is there was just so many layers of kind of uncovering and revealing and seeing things and reliving it and re-experiencing it, and those things just re-energize some of those places that I kind of had assumed I had kind of moved on from, or at least I had buried away far enough outside of my consciousness. However, going there as I'd kind of really see myself as a helper. I kind of thought, well, I'm using my experience now to help other people.
But it takes incredible courage to go back into those places. And I mean, eh, um, just the I mean, it was hard. I had to put the book down several times over the weekend. I was at a Dominican retreat this weekend, and I spent the time praying for you and with you and little Colin in this book. And there were times I had to put it down and just weep because, I mean, and God is so good. The incredible tenacity and courage that he gave you to pursue your healing and to just be so relentless in continuing to go there and to continue to work through it, to bring it to the world, is just incredibly moving. In fact, there's not words. It's inexplicable. There aren't words to express how to enter into your experience in this book. I felt and how I feel about you, and just the strangeness and the holiness that is in your story is just so remarkable. People must read it when they can. It's just incredible. And so I just want to thank you for doing it. I really do.
Well,
It's
thank you.
beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. And again, I've been asked many times, why did I write it? And I guess that's a complicated answer. There's a complicated answer to a simple question, because it does go to places where I'm kind of balancing up. I have children, right?
Yeah.
A lot of my
Right.
children won't know my story.
Yes.
They won't know. They'll just know me as dad. They
Yes.
just know me as kind of even like annoying dad, or dad who tries to make funny jokes who, that are not funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so they just know me from that perspective.
Hmm.
And they don't know dad who is vulnerable. They don't know dad who has gone through what he's gone through. They just have this version of me, I suppose,
Yeah.
that they've experienced, and I had to think about that. I also had to think about what is the impact I want here for other people to read. And I
Right.
suppose it was also like a commentary, hoping that it would somehow someday find its way into training institutions,
Yes.
not as an academic text. I didn't write it.
Right.
I purposefully didn't write it as an academic text because I wanted it to be accessible. Although I did get a bit technical from time to time, I tried
Sure.
to unpack that so that it could appeal to everyone reading it. But I also did think about the impact, and if I can say, I kind of lightened it down a lot for
Yeah.
the world, because it would have been too brutal. I did have
Mhm.
a publisher who offered me a contract to publish it, who wanted me to get more intimate with the nitty
Mhm.
gritty aspects, and I said no, I'm not. I'm not using this
Yeah.
as a kind of a glory quest of
Right.
somebody's almost like trauma porn, if you
Right.
like. I'm not doing that. That
Yeah.
would be disrespectful to me. It would be disrespectful to other people who experiences these things, and it would be disrespectful
Yes.
to to whoever reads this book. And I think
Mhm.
you're right. I think that there is only one word, and it comes over again and again and again, which is miraculous.
Yes.
It is beyond a miracle. I
It,
mean,
you're a witness of hope. You give hope to anyone who is facing something that seems insurmountable,
mm,
right? And
yeah, no,
that's why
no.
it had to be told.
And I think as well, I try to unpack hope as this messy business. It doesn't come neatly packaged. It doesn't come as a kind of a clear. At least it didn't for me. And
No.
I'm kind of like a sounding board for the rest of the world for those who say I didn't hear the voice of Christ, or I didn't have a vision, or I didn't have a prophecy, or I didn't have. I'm kind of. I think I speak for almost the everyman in a Christian context that kind of goes, we have come to faith through various experiences, through logic, through reason, through all of these avenues, which eventually
Powerlessness.
come powerlessness, absolutely, through suffering. And I think that's where I mean, I've just had too many things that that I can go. That's coincidence. There's too many coincidences. If there's just too many things there.
Mhm.
And again, the kind of I wanted to talk to um to others, so that they are not so captured by the shame. Because one
Yes.
of the things that was really curious when I went into psychotherapy, I had psychotherapists and counselors coming at me kind of, as I was just beginning to disclose some
Mm,
of the things. I was just beginning to build up the courage to come over the terror that I experienced and the immense shame. And they
mm,
would say, it's not your fault. So I was in a culture of it's not your fault. It was quite a while ago. And
yeah.
I used to think, what do you mean? What does that mean? It's
Yeah.
not my fault. And it's only just now that I'm realizing that it's the shame that I attached to my experiences, the fact that I couldn't tell anybody, the fact that I felt that I had this terrible secret that I could not expose, I couldn't let anybody into that space. And that's what it means. It means that you take on the shame of another person.
Mhm.
You take on all of their sin. You take on
Yes.
all of the darkness that they have inside of themselves. And I think that, and I suppose if I get a little bit technical, it's a bit like kind of object kind of theory where we project things out into other people.
Right.
And if we look at kind of Kleinian theory, people who cannot contain, who have never been, they push
Mm.
all of their hatred out into other people, out into the world, and they push it upon other people. And I guess for me, I kind of seen it in that way. And it was only as I got older that I kind of realized, oh, that was what was meant. And that's, I guess the thing is, there's kind of cliches I think that happen in the psychotherapy field, in the counselling field, in the helping profession, social work, and there's kind of little, little almost kind of phrases and
Mhm.
terminology, but it can be so unrelatable to people who are just kind of like, I don't really know what that means, but they don't have the voice to kind of go, I'm not sure, but I feel too much shame to
Right.
question you
It
because
doesn't
I feel
resonate.
so small. Yeah, it doesn't resonate. But it's kind of I understand it so much differently
Yeah.
now today. And I think that like I said, going back to what did I want? I wanted it to educate. I wanted it
Mhm.
to bring people together. I
Mhm.
also wanted to speak to that larger taking on responsibility by kind of giving it back to the world. Not because the world's at fault.
Right.
The world didn't do this.
Mhm.
Um, which is another thing that I talk about. That part when I realized the responsibility of taking myself to Christ, of taking myself to therapy, was on me. That the parents were gone. There had been no parents, and it was down to me. And in a sense, I'm kind of doing the same thing here with this book by giving it back to the world to kind of say, this is all our responsibility in one way or another. It's
That is
kind of,
true.
yeah. And I think I give a bit of a commentary towards the end of my book, which I think is it's
Mhm.
kind of odd because you kind of look at it, and I was writing this before the moment we're in today, and
Mm.
I could have written it for today. It could have been a commentary on the state of the world
Yes.
today, because I think it is that. And I think about there was another aspect as well. Whilst I was writing the book, I was popping in and out of a particular, I think I had about 3 sessions with a Catholic therapist in the United States. And I had them online, and didn't even the therapist didn't even reveal their face. I was just talking to them.
Mm.
And one of the things, and I think this person is, he's received a lot of criticism from people. People think he's a bit hardline. I personally experienced only love and
Mm.
just such grace.
Mhm.
Um, and I was asked as I was talking about my experiences, which was around the book, and I'm saying, look, this feels like it's breaking me all over again. I feel like this is
Yeah.
just kind of just it's torture. I've been here. I don't want to go through this anymore. It's just
Yeah.
And he asked me a question, and it was just kind of it just came from nowhere. It hit me like a ton of bricks, and he said, if you met your abuser in heaven, and you were and he asked you for forgiveness, would you forgive him? And I was just like, my first reaction was, how dare you? How dare you ask me that question?
Mhm.
And then I sat and I thought about it, and I said, I just need to process this because it was just not expected.
Mm-mm.
And then I sat and I thought, like, Christ, And I thought, that's what Christ is asking us to do.
Well, you wrote it in your book. I mean,
Yes.
Jesus asks us to forgive and forgive. I mean, I've dog-eared all the places where you talked about that, because at Catholic Psych, when you and I were together, our supervisor, Dr. Brian Violet, beautiful man, but he talks about the process of forgiveness as having to experience the anger of the injustice up front, and that can take a lifetime, right?
Sure.
And
Sure.
and that's why I think Jesus asks us to try. That's the best we can do, is to try, but to rely on his grace to do it, right? And so I'm thinking about how there's also, I was listening to Father Dan Rehill, that exorcist. He works in this, I think, Texas, but he was just, I don't know if you've heard his story, but he was sexually assaulted by a priest when he
By
was
a
11.
priest. Yeah.
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 And he talked about how as much of the emotion that you need to bring to our Lord, to the cross, is as many prayers as that person needs. And it may take the rest of your life to
Yeah.
process that forgiveness.
Yeah. And I guess even more, let's say, more nuanced than that is this idea of, I wasn't asked to forgive him. He didn't seek my
No,
forgiveness.
right.
Right. And
It's so
so
complicated.
I don't owe him that. But
That's
what
right.
do I owe? What do I owe to myself, and what do I owe to Christ? And if I'm specifically asked to forgive, so he's in heaven. That
Mhm.
the assumption here is he's been forgiven, he's been saved. Through what means, I have no idea, but everything is possible through Christ. And I just thought, yeah, not to undermine the absolute gut-wrenching agony, pain, confusion, confliction. It's like, ultimately, if Christ suffered what he suffered and was innocent, and he's asking this of me,
Mhm.
then I'm willing to try. I'm willing to say, I will try.
Right. I mean, I think that anybody who reads your book and learns of your story, even we have to move through a process of forgiveness for the people who abandoned you, neglected you, abused you, and hurt you in so many ways. I mean, I felt there were parts of me that really, as a mother, felt excruciating, pain for you, but just anger at your mother and sadness at her story. Um, but then I realized later, after I was processing that actually I think I still have unforgiveness for myself in some ways as a mother, for my own places of failure, and so it's such it's just, we go round and round, and we grope and we grasp and we work through it, and we share our stories. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. You talking about the role of a mum, the role of a dad, and again, I never got to actually meet my father. I still haven't. He is, by all accounts, at least from my mother's uh, um take on it, he's dead. He's passed away. My abusers of obviously passed away. But even my wife found it difficult with my mum, and I think she was a bit angry that I
Yeah.
was going to forgive her. And again, I went through that whole process of saying, well, what are you holding on to
Yeah.
that you're not forgiving yourself for?
Yeah, it's
And
true.
again, and how much are you looking at yourself only through a really critical lens? It's like, no way can you compare yourself to my mum,
Right.
because that's just not, that's the extreme end of it. And I looked at my mum as just this kind of tragic figure in a situation that kind of, she was too weak to choose. She didn't realize she had agency. She didn't realize she had choice in different ways. She just kind of tried to move through life, taking the path that seemed to offer the least um, likelihood of her getting beaten, or
Yeah.
her being abused even further,
Right.
or of her having to kind of deal with her own kind of demons and her own self-hatred. And my mum is very ill. and we don't have a great relationship. I don't think that I think it's too late. I think the kind of but I do forgive her, and I do love my mum.
Mhm.
Um, and
You want the best for her and her healing.
I want the best for her, and I know she's suffered, and I know she's been. It's one of those situations that if she could have done better, she would have.
Yes.
She did what she could,
And that,
and even though it wasn't good enough, it's just the truth.
I mean, that's beautiful that now you know that, but the problem is 8-year-old Colin doesn't know that. He doesn't understand that.
No.
He's only experiencing I mean, the poem that you wrote in the book, um, about the sparrow, right? The sparrow?
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
a sparrow. Yeah.
I'm gonna type that out and put it up on my wall, just like frame it, in some cool font, because he needs to be known. Um, you did have that sense of the transcendent, even though everyone told you lies, and when you were 8, I mean, when you were 4, and so just the amount of trauma that you've been through, and then the amount of hope that you bring to the world through your story is just, it needs to be shared.
Oh,
So thank you so much for that.
oh, thank you. And yeah,
And I mean,
I
just ways that our Lord has resurrected it in your work now, too, as
mm.
a psychotherapist.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a psychotherapist, as a creator of businesses, a creator of processes, a creator of governance frameworks, a creator of so many things. I
Yeah.
mean, I hear myself say, all of these things, and people say to me, "Oh, well, how on earth do you manage all of that?" And it's like the answer is, I don't know, but I trust that, God gives me the grace I need,
That's right.
um, and so it's yeah, and it's not like it's all been joy and it's all been easy.
No.
It's been kind of being born and reborn and being re-crucified and being re-resurrected and over and over and over again. And each part of me, and each part of that process that needs to die dies, and each part of me that needs to be reborn is reborn.
Yeah.
And it's a continual process. And I suppose one of the things that I like is this idea of how against all of the odds, how it kind of laughs in the face of Satan,
Yeah.
how it kind of laughs in the face of the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
because it became really clear to me. It was, and I suppose even before I really truly found the road back to Catholicism,
Mm-hmm.
it was the way evil worked, the way evil operated, the insidious and the entwined and the complicated and also simple way and the confusing way that the evil operated, and how it just kind of ate away at our dignity, and how it tried to diminish, and how it tried to destroy the things that are so necessary for us as human beings, and how no matter how much those evil influences on my life took their toll, Christ grew me stronger
Oh, yeah.
again and again and again.
I see that. I
Yeah.
see that so much. It's beautiful. That's why I
And,
love
and,
the
and
image of the butterfly, with the thread to the boulder.
the stone, yeah, yeah, the boulder, yeah.
Mhm.
And I guess, and I also wanted to paint a picture of what we call recovery. I mean, look, recovery is
Mhm.
such a confused thing. I'm actually writing a piece on recovery. I'm actually, about to embark on finally, the end part of a PhD, and I'm
Mhm.
also writing other stuff at the moment. And I I am so kind of tired of the way in which the world wants to present therapy, wants to present healing, wants to present, and the whole traumatology has become too much. The kind of the term trauma, the whole kind of the industry that's built up around the psychiatric industry. These are things that I was really wishing I could have kind of engaged people with, because it's kind of like I want to bring a questioning lens to some of these things in a way that's respectful, but also in a way that where we bring truth to things.
Right.
And I also kind of wanted to say to people, you know, even if it all feels messy, even if it all doesn't feel conjoined, even if it doesn't feel conventional, you are still moving in the right direction. You know, even if you feel disheartened, even if you feel disillusioned, even if you feel discombobulated, even if you feel lost, even if you feel afraid, even if you feel that things are coming up that you thought that you had dealt with, it's like, don't lose hope. And those things from the gospel and the New Testament about do not be afraid
That's right.
just keeps coming back again and again and again. And so I didn't want to paint this really neat picture. I think there's a point where I joke in the book and I said, I've done all of these things and then everything was great. And I went, of course it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of the way the world wants to present it. The world wants to go, did all of these things, everything was sorted, it was all fine. I went on and I lived this really rosy kind of existence. And it's kind of like, no, life continues to be hard. One of the invitations that I talk about, which was really difficult to experience, and I suppose even quite hard to articulate, was this thing that was going on where I was refusing to not be angry. I didn't want to let go. I was like, no, I'm going to be angry. I've got every right to be angry. Look at how
Yes.
terrible, how bad things had been.
100%.
And who could disagree, right? Who
Yeah.
could kind of go, wow, that's you don't have any. But it was more subtle than that. Again, the enemy had kind of gotten into that, and it kind of twisted my interpretation of that and my understanding of it. Whilst doing that, I kept myself prisoner. Whilst doing that, I kind of locked myself away from opportunity to kind of grow and to heal and to come to Christ. And I think that the real the real shift for me was at a point when I realized what I was waiting for was for mum and dad to come and to
Yes.
fix it.
Wow.
And I had to accept that that wasn't going to happen. You talked about as a mother, you talked about, this. The other part is I wanted to try to put to words the nuclear explosion of being abandoned by your mum. Your only comfort, the only person as dysfunctional as they were,
Yeah.
and as broken as they were, and as imperfect as they were the only reference point for safety. They were the
Totally.
only place. And when they were gone, it was like, oh crap, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
But it was like I was stunned. It was like a stun grenade going off, and I was just stunned. I was just stuck.
Yeah.
And kind of things were happening all around me, and it was just like an echo. It was just like they were echoing all around me. And I was there in this bubble. And that part of me never healed. That part of me didn't, that went off into adulthood. It couldn't be spoken of when I was a child because it was seen as disloyal. It was seen as me being disloyal to a man who was a predatory paedophile.
Yeah.
He was an abuser. I was told that I was being disloyal to him, and that there were very real consequences. The other, the physical beatings, the intimidation. And then, of course, there was this satanic stuff, which
Right.
as a child was kind of just impossible for me to process. But I remember kind of thinking about my fear of death and thinking about, why do I feel it so acutely? Why is it that in one hand, throughout my life, I was consistently trying to kill myself. I was trying to destroy myself in one way because I couldn't cope. And then after achieving things in my life, I suddenly became aware of something of value that I had, other people, relationships, children of my own, businesses, for example. And I thought, why am I so profoundly afraid of dying? And then I remembered that it was one of his parting messages to me, that he had sold my soul to Satan,
Right.
and that he was going to be there when I died. And it was just that thought. It was little Colin who reacted to that.
Yeah.
It was kind of, I had no defense, I had no answer to that. I had no one to kind of defend me, to put him to one side, to kind of, and so I had to kind of sit down and go, I have to deal with this. I have to kind of really try to get, you know, and the problem with those kinds of messages is they keep people away from Christ.
Yeah.
That's what they're designed to do, because it already comes as the deal's done. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do. It's final. And I didn't know anything about that. You couldn't actually sell a soul that wasn't yours.
Right.
No
No,
one
of
told me
course not.
that. I didn't understand that those things were real for me. It was done. There was no point. And here I was wanting to destroy life, and except there was always this thing that was hanging on,
Yeah.
which I know was Christ, but I didn't know it
And
then.
it's just
So that
hopeless.
absolutely, and I just think that it's such a complicated story to tell as well. So I try to kind of tell it with a kind of a narrative
Yeah.
that could be in some way relatable
Yeah.
and accessible to people, and also a bit of an indictment, not necessarily a criticism, maybe a criticism of the kind of current secular models that exist, to kind of say, well, you know, you've already decided what the terms are that I'm going through. You've already decided what my experiences are. You've got a predefined lens that you're
Right.
determined to fit me into. And this is why I have such a reaction to the psychiatric model and the medical model. It's not that I don't believe it. It's not that I don't think that it doesn't have any merit. But I also think that when you can understand that, and then you can explain it in everyday terms,
Mm-hmm.
then you've got something more relatable,
Yeah.
rather than something that's over there. I'm not one of these people who say mental illness doesn't exist, or
Yeah.
you know, it's a fabrication. It's just been made up by the psychiatric system in order for people to line their pockets because of the medications. However, I'm saying that a lot of that goes on. There's a
Right.
lot of it that's conflated. There's a lot of people that are harmed because people have an investment in keeping people sick.
Right. That's true.
And I've seen that, and I see that, and I think that you know, it's an industry
Yeah.
whereby the system, if it has more interest in keeping the client than it does of the client, so if it isn't
Right.
truly centered around what the higher good of the client,
Right.
then it is profoundly contaminated with corruption.
Right.
It just will be, and I think that um, I was just trying to approach stuff in a way to kind of go. You could go back through my book with a medical lens and say, at this point, Colin was clinically depressed. At this point, Colin was suffering from a X, Y, or Z.
Yes.
I didn't choose to do that. What I did is I spoke out of the experiences instead, because what I was saying was, here's a different language.
Yeah.
You don't have to adopt it. You don't have to take my language, but you can think about it in terms of what is it? What does it mean for you in terms of how you want to communicate it? And I think that that's really important, because I think there's a lot of power in language. Obviously, there's a lot of power, because if you don't have the ability to put into words something that you feel, and it seems only arbitrary, but yet it's real, it's there,
Yeah.
then the world will give you language to use that will then make you feel even more alienated, because it
Right.
isn't your language. And I think it's really important for
Right.
people to kind of get underneath that. And that's one of the things I do in my work, is when I work with people and they come to me and they go, I'm depressed and I've got ADHD and I've got this, and I've got that, and I've got this, and I've got that. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then I unpack that. I go kind of methodically go through all of that, and I talk about the experiences, and I talk about, well, what do you think that was like, and when did you get that, and did it make sense? And
Right.
so I untangle. I go through a process of just untangling that,
Yes.
and then we develop a language which is coming from them.
Right.
You know, guided by me, but not
Mm-hmm.
directed by me.
Yeah. Explore.
And the Holy Spirit, just exploring, getting into those contours. And I think that it allows for a freedom that they haven't experienced. And you know, they kind of come and they go, say things like, well, you know,
Yeah.
They just make this assumption that I know, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, maybe I do,
Yeah.
maybe I don't, but why don't you tell me?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me as if I don't know? Can
Yeah.
you maybe explain to me like I don't know?
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and help
beautiful.
me try to understand it. And
Well,
so,
Colin, it's just, this is why I must say that, like, I just see such an alignment with the mission of JP2 in you. And I know that he's, such an integral part of what you do. I mean, it's just not lost on me that, what are you, an hour and a half away from Krakow, and
yeah, an hour and a
the
half, yeah, yeah,
the
from a,
Chapel of
yeah.
the Divine Mercy and all of that, right? Yeah. And
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I'm in Rome. I'm not far from the sites of a number of saints.
wow.
I'm kind of I'm in a part of the country
Yeah.
that is just enmeshed in kind of rich, kind of Catholic
Well, and we're all called
tradition.
to be these saints, and you are working with people to meet them in there, explore, discover, untangle, and then hopefully to lead them to helping them to become who they are, right?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much I would love to say that I have a clear, precise kind of precision to what I do. Most of the time, I'm kind of taking me as
Yeah.
where I'm at as
Yeah.
well,
Of
and
course.
it's and I'm trying to meet somebody with a sense of, to build a sense of connection, build a
Mhm.
sense of trust. Working on the key aspects of the relationship. I'm really genuinely interested and
Right.
what they're going to bring. And I'm also really interested in kind of when there's let's say tensions in the relationship or the ability for there to be a split or there to be a rupture in the
Right.
relationship. Sorry, there's a few flies flying around me.
Oh, that's okay.
Um,
But yeah, just the
and
healing in
yeah,
relationship.
yeah, absolutely. And I guess I had been thinking about this and pondering on it and thinking about it and kind of thinking, yeah, it's just being there sometimes. And also it's like where clients have had this fantasy that they bring. So if I'm working with a female client and the client has this shame about perhaps sexual addiction or failing as a mother or whatever that might be, and they don't want to tell me. They think
Mhm.
I'm going to judge them. They think,
Right.
as I'm a man, I've hurt them. I am the key kind of in the kind of direct lineage of kind of people who have fucked them. So I'm a man. That's the
Mhm.
first thing.
Right.
Second thing is every man they've trusted has betrayed that trust.
Yeah.
Every time they've kind of tried to enter into a relationship with a man, it's been distorted. It's become sexual. It's
Mhm.
become something other than it was intended to be, and
Mhm.
it's kind of appealed to the lowest common aspects of who we are as human beings, rather than those kind of
Right.
the more richer tapestry that each of us are made up with, the integral parts of kind of really being able to lean into somebody, knowing that you can be held, knowing that what you say, I will not think less of you, and I
Mhm.
won't betray you, and I won't break the trust that you've given me. I won't take that lightly.
Mhm.
I I won't be sitting here thinking that you are already all healed, which
Yeah.
is another mystery. People come, they
Yeah.
have these broken, these experiences of being broken and of life just not working and the relationships not working and of deeply kind of being deeply critical
Mhm.
and pointing all of this kind of self-hatred that comes from the enemy in towards themselves
Yeah.
and they think that I'm just going to be expecting them to present this
Mhm.
pristine version of
Right.
themselves, and
Right.
I'm like, please, I'm really honored. Bring it. I promise.
Yeah.
There's no judgment. There will be truth.
Yeah.
There will be truth, but it will be gentle.
Yeah.
I will be gentle with that truth.
And
I
as
won't
Jesus
be.
is.
I
Yeah.
won't be brutal. Yeah, I won't be brutal. I won't be harsh. I won't be like
It takes time
your
to
other
build that trust.
experiences.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time, and again it's a process. And I think that if people feel that they've got a back door out of that, then they're more likely to take it than not.
Yeah.
It's very difficult
It's hard.
to build provision in for that. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's all part of that process. I mean, some of the things that I've worked with people involve them being kind of engaged in really, really destructive, self-destructive behaviors. And you're trying to hold your own anxiety about where to kind of move in the relationship, and at the same time kind of hold everything that's going on.
Right.
And at the same time not get subsumed, like we spoke about,
Yeah.
like you talk about in the CatholicPsych Institute,
Yeah.
one leg on the shore, one in the water.
Yeah.
So we don't get drowned, so we don't get dragged in, we don't get subsumed, we don't get caught in that kind of whirlpool. We're
Yeah.
there as an invitation and an offer art. And so I'm ultimately, also then having to go back to my own faith and kind of going after trust that how things pan out, how they're meant to be,
Yeah.
that there's nothing uniquely and particularly different or defective about what I've done. I mean, one of the things about being a therapist or a counselor or a helper is that the critic in us can get into that space as well and can kind of say, we're rubbish, we're not good, we have nothing to offer. We've made it worse. That's not to say that we might, not to say that those things can't happen too, but it's disproportionately so in terms of sometimes. And so we have to continually do that work on ourselves. And that's something as well where I've kind of been in therapy for a long time, in and out of different, therapeutic relationships myself, my own supervision, my own personal therapy. People might say I'm just keeping things alive doing that, but I don't. I see it as kind of self-care. I see it as preventative. I see it as another way to kind of align my ability to kind of, And I think if I'm going to, if I sit there and I ask people to go there, I can't be too far away from what it's like to go there myself.
That's right.
I cannot, because that's just kind of, it's kind of terrifying. Yeah, it can be terrifying, and it can be, And I think that was one of the, when I kind of came to understand, when I came to CatholicPsych and I met, people like yourself, I was just blown away. I was just blown away by your character, just by how gentle you are, everything that you've been through. And everything you've had to bear. And you're talking about failing as a mother. And instantly, this part of me just wanted to kind of put my hand on your shoulder and kind of say, it's not the same. You're distorting something that doesn't belong to you. You're attaching it to yourself, and that doesn't belong there. What a fantastic mum you are. What a fantastic person you are. And again, so committed to kind of bringing Christ to people in your life, and you live it. It kind of emanates from you, just pours from you, and it's just such a lovely thing to experience. And I guess it's kind of the stuff that CatholicPsych people like yourself are doing. You're kind of pouring back into the world where there's been kind of deprivation, where there's been a pouring out or a kind of sucking away, if you like, or a drawing down, how whatever way, I suppose any of those versions would kind of mean the same thing. You're trying to pour back in. And I just think it's amazing. I just think that it kind of puts a smile on my face, and amongst all the suffering as well that's going on in the world, right?
Yeah, well, we need that community so that we can.
We do.
We really must have it, and we must see that, like, we're all, like you said in the beginning, human and limited, and we need each other. And so, I have a lot of hope for healing, helping people heal, just being a conduit like you, and so we'll leave it on the cliffhanger. We'll wrap up, but that I'll be on your podcast and I'll be able to share some of my story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Likewise. Yeah. Thank you, Beth. Lovely to see you. Lovely to share this time with you. Yeah, just great.
Well, maybe one day I'll be able to come over and visit you and your wife in Italy.
You might well do. Yeah. Absolutely.
After all the 8 kids that have left the house.
Yeah. So,
maybe
in a few short years. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. God bless you, Colin.
God bless you, Beth. Take care. Bye.